and we are down to 4 from 64 from 4,000 dreams at the beginning of the year, Mick. And this is it, the week of the Final Four. Welcome in to Six Rotations, brought to you by SNA Sports, better equipment for a better game. I'm Daniel Gilman. He's Mick Haley. We will be bringing Six Rotations to you if you're coming to the convention on Thursday at 10:45 a.m. Go find us on the schedule. We'll be doing an episode in person. We'll work our best to try to figure out the semantics of, producing it so that it could be posted online. No promises, but the way to watch us is to get your ticket to the convention. Get there on Thursday. Woo, Mick, this is going to be a whale of an episode because now, luckily, if you didn't catch us, maybe pause this one, go back into the YouTube, watch our regional final preview that we recorded on Friday. That way, you get a little bit of a catch up there. We're going to talk about the 4 big matches on Saturday. Mick, I know you were at one of them. Let's start with it. Texas, Ohio State, part 3. And they say it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. The Longhorns, they exemplified it. It wasn't easy. They got through them, though, and Texas is going back to the Final Four.
Yeah, as I said before we started, I was extremely impressed with Ohio State's effort. I really think their play was much better than the numbers they produced through the year. Their blocking was extremely good. They touched so many balls. The thing that Texas did so well that earned them the victory is they served them so unbelievably tough. I mean, it was just like guided missiles coming across the net and moving. And Ohio State couldn't get enough balls to Londot, their primary scorer. And even so, they were in the match. They were in the match big time. They came back in the second set, maybe a mistake by Texas there that let them really zoom to the end of that second set. But in the third set, it was Texas stayed 3 or 4 points ahead and didn't waver. The fourth set was the same, really a good set. But in the end, Ohio State just couldn't get the ball to Londot enough. Londot carried the first night. She was just a warrior. She did everything she could from blocking to defense the second night. But Texas is real good. And even though they didn't do some things that they want to do, I think they made some changes in their blocking lineup. I think they showed that they can bring some bench people in. So they are maybe the team to beat still going into this tournament.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't deny that. We'll talk about Texas's matchup. They'll be playing first on Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Londot only 14 kills, 37 swings is all they were able to get to her. You mentioned that it was a big second set run for the Buckeyes. They went on an 8-0 run. They led 22-20, was able to force that split into the intermission. How about the blocking total? We had 20 blocks midway through the third set. Texas able to stretch away their lead in that third. They won it handedly 25-13. And then the 20th kill of the night for Eggleston was the 25-21 dagger. Mick, new Gregory gym record. I feel like we keep getting these records. It's great for the sport. 5,344. Did you notice any pump up in noise compared to previous years?
Yeah, actually, it was even louder. I'd never seen so many people in Gregory, and it was standing room. They had all the exits filled with people. It was an amazing thing. The thing that I wonder at the NC2A maybe has to control is they got a tremendous advantage from playing at home there because the music was geared to what they do all season. All of that was geared to get those fans into it. I mean, if you're a Texas player, you are just going right off because you're feeling it. They make you feel so comfortable there. If you're an Ohio State player, I thought Ohio State handled that pressure really well. But when it counted hitting error here, a serving error there, that just put them out. And, Texas could have won the second set. As you mentioned, 22-20, they're only down in the second set, but they had no timeouts left. Right. They had burned those timeouts midway. So another time, maybe to be a little bit more concerned about when you take your timeouts. But boy, the gym was rocking, and it was one of the best spectator events you'll probably ever go to.
Well, that was a wild one. Of course, Mick had picked Texas from the beginning. Texas was the one team that I didn't get here in the Final Four. I thought there had to have been a Big Ten side, and yet for the first time in NCAA tournament history, nobody from the Pac, nobody from the Big Ten. 15-year stretch cut as the Big Ten does not see a team advance to the Final Four. I think it is tremendous for the sport, especially with the championship being two Big Ten teams last year. Now you shake things up. The first tournament was in 1981. There have only been two Final Fours through 09 that didn't have a Pac member. That was 93 and 98, but Penn State was in both of those. It's really been Big Ten or Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever you want to call it, over the last 30 years. And so that's where we sit, 40 years almost. And yet,
or the Pac-8.
The Pac-8, all of it. You got the Pac-8, you got the Big Ten, you've got the Big Six, the Big 8, all of that. Now we don't know what we're gonna have in the future. But what we do know is that there is a team playing in their first ever Final Four, and we're gonna jump to them because this is gonna be the matchup Thursday at 7:00 Eastern. And we fast forward to Palo Alto, prime time. The timings didn't quite set up well for the NCAA and ESPN. There was a lot of that carryover where, in fact, the first two sets of San Diego Stanford was relegated to ESPN News. And you wonder if moving forward, they're either going to separate it, maybe throw 2.5 hours between each match. That wouldn't be too devastating. Or, of course, a lot of people calling to go back to the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday setup for regionals. So we'll wait and see. But what we don't have to wait for anymore is whether the Cinderella story is going to the dance. And San Diego, alma mater of John Cook, despised by Paul Sunderland, it felt like on ESPNU, and yet they powered through. How about this? 4 different Toreros pick up double-digit kills. Blackwell goes perfect, 14-0-24. Edwards and Froling add 18. And it was the Katie Luke show. 20 kills, 54 swings for the pin hitter. What did you learn watching this match?
Well, I think I learned that the first match this next weekend is for the national championship.
Okay, Mickey.
Yeah, you know what I was so impressed with San Diego is their size. I've known their size all year long, but until they walked out on the court and matched up with Stanford, I didn't realize they're as big, they're as strong, and they may be quicker, and they run a faster system, and they were fun. Not that Stanford's effort wasn't fun or well done, but they just have heart, and they can stay on the court with anybody. That just didn't resonate with me, and it probably just because we think of USD as a smaller school, you kind of think of their lineup as being smaller, kind of like Houston. You kind of think of their lineup being smaller. Incidentally, Paul didn't do Houston any favors in that broadcast either, but I think that was a good team. But USD is big, strong, and quick, and they're driven by their setter, Blossom, who just has her nose up in the air the whole time, getting more oxygen so she can deliver that ball.
Except when her nose is stuck in the seats when she goes smashing into the chairs. Oh, what a point that was in the 5th. Let me walk you fans through it for those that may have fallen asleep or maybe need a little bit of a reminder about this late night match. First set, Stanford took it 25-19. Kendall Kipp had her, wake up in the morning, have 5 kills for breakfast, put it to bed. She was up 1-0. The Stanford block was key, but San Diego's size, they peaked a little bit in that second set. San Diego was able to withstand Kipp's barrage. She had 18 kills in the first 3 sets. San Diego took the second 25-22. Stanford bounced right back. Ogilvie was the better libero for the first 4 sets. I'm confident of it. Then Annie Benbow showed up in that 5th set. But first, I got some notes here. It was 2013 Stanford in that 3rd set. They were able to take it 2-1. Big point at 18 all. Kip had a huge back row blast in the fourth. It looked like Stanford was going to pull away with it, but San Diego fought back to pull down 2018. They then forced the fifth. Going into 5 sets this year, and this was a great stat from Emily Eman, Mick. San Diego was 4-0 on the season in 5-setters, but Stanford was 3-1. So both of these teams were battle tested. You felt like maybe at home, Palo Alto, Maples Pavilion, you give the edge to Kip and Ruben and Francis and all of them. But Stanford hits 0 in the 5th set. There was a wild block from Stanford to tie it at 9-9. Kip had an unbelievable dig. You guys should go back and just watch from 9-7 San Diego on to the rest of that set. Was wild. But then Benbow gets a huge dig on 9-9. Massive kill from the left side, 10-9. San Diego then goes on that 5-0 run, stretches it to 14-9, finishes it on the 6-0 run as Benbow and then Edwards picks up the kill to finish it off. Whew, what a phenomenal reliving it was. I've got my San Diego light blue on. We've got an Omaha State coming up. Bill McGillis, the executive director of athletics, cannot wait to make that handshake there. Now, Stanford's getting their whole team back next season. That was a big announcement that Paul made on the broadcast, which was important. They've got a lot to look forward to. We don't have to talk more about Stanford. Let's focus now on Gabby Blossom. We talked to her early in the year. What did you think you were able to kind of figure out from her setting style and how it adjusted throughout the match?
Well, I thought she was much more consistent. I thought she was very stable. I thought even though she plays with that extra energy all the time, she threaded it most of the time. And during the year, there were times where she got out of system a little bit and couldn't quite get back with as fast as they run it. But she was running a go almost from 28 feet and putting it on the money. And that's why Luke's was just pounding the ball out of system when the passes weren't perfect. Because they were still bringing it. And I think Blossom has proved herself that she's a candidate to play on here. She's done a good job at the net defending, touches a lot of balls, plays good defense, but she drives the team. She's the heart, and everybody responds to her. And that's a lot of pressure coming into next weekend. So that's the only thing you have to worry about there. But on the other hand, you've got Logan Eggleston, who's got a score. There's a lot of pressure there. So you got both sides carrying a lot of pressure. And so it'll be just a classic match, I think.
64 assists for Blossom. And you mention it, you've got a couple Big Ten names coming up in this matchup, though. You've had the 2 Huskers in Akana, and of course, the middle for Nebraska, who I'm blanking on right now, who went to Texas. What's her name?
Shoot, I'm blanking on it too. No, I can see her right now. They actually though they replaced her, with the Cal transfer, a bigger middle who got 3 extremely important.
Caffey, sorry about that, folks.
Caffey, yes.
So you've got Caffey and Akana. You've got the 2 Indiana transfers in Blackwell and Edwards. They each had 7 blocks in this match, held Kip to just 6 kills over the final 2 sets after she had 18 through 3. And that's going to be the task that they have to step up against Eggleston with. We'll get our kind of, prognostic setup coming on Thursday. We'll have a full breakdown. Mick and I are doing a live, pre-game show, and then we're each going to host the NCAA fan experience, which is going to be just a time. I don't think we're allowed to talk about who our guests are going to be yet, but it is a murderer's row of who's who. So if you still have the chance, go buy your ticket to the NCAA fan experience powered by On Location. Mick and I will be on location, breaking it all down. We'll save some of our previews for that. But Mick, how about this? We got to talk to Gabby Blossom just a week and a half after we talked to Logan Eggleston. And now they're playing each other for a chance to, as you think, win the championship. Now they have a chance to go to the championship. On the other side of things, it's all ACC, baby. Let's start Oregon-Louisville, an early match. Oregon had to wake up for it. They did it for 2 matches in a row. 8 a.m. body clock against Nebraska. A little bit later, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Eugene to take on Louisville in Louisville, the KFC Yum Arena. It was rocking. Oregon was up to the task early. Anna DeBeer, though, was a force. 6 kills in the 5th set for DeBeer, and we're finally learning why Louisville needed her so bad. And I think we knew, the two of us, that it was Chaussey's show, but Anna DeBeer's the X factor down in Louisville.
Yeah, there's no question, but honestly, Oregon could have won that match 3-0. That first set, there were several, as the Oregon coach pointed out in the middle of the match, there were several very interesting calls that he felt didn't go his way. They only lost that first set by 2 points, and he kind of felt like if they'd have gotten that first set, that might have gone to Oregon, and we really would have had an interesting tournament then.
We still have an interesting tournament.
Louisville, however, when DeBeer and Chauncey are delivering, is a credible force. There's no question about that. It's just that they haven't been able to get that third provider in there to score, and they're going to need 3 against Pittsburgh to do that. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, is on the upswing. They have their confidence. They're flinging the ball around like Blossom. They've got people firing the ball at all different angles, and everybody's up hitting. The coverage is good, and of course Bazzario is always swinging. I thought they did a pretty good job. Oregon did on controlling her a little bit, but wow! I'm sorry, not Oregon, Wisconsin, but I really thought the whole Pittsburgh team took a step up.
Well, we'll save that one. First off, first set, Oregon led 19-16. So despite a couple calls, they had it in their hands. Collier made a couple errors there. All the credit in the world, right? Everyone was kind of doubting Lothario and whether she could step up to the task in a tight match, right? They had swept through their first 2 opponents in the tournament. They had swept their last opponent as well, as Louisville took out Baylor in 3. They had won every set since the 5-set thriller in Atlanta against Georgia Tech on November 11th. So almost exactly a month to the day since the last set they lost. And that's tough to try to bounce back from that. Oregon, you got to give them credit too, because they blew the first set. A poor service error tied it at 22 in the first. Another bad service error by Louisville gave it back 24-23, and then Oregon loses it on a service error in the first set, 25-23. But the Ducks fought back to win the second. They dominated the third, Mick. It was 25-13. You think everything's going, Goldie Lions and roses, or whatever the phrase is, who the heck knows. But the 4th set comes around, and that's when you see the depth really play a factor for Louisville, in my opinion, because you mentioned they need that third attacker. I reached out a couple times this year to try to get an interview with Amaya Tillman. She seemed like the most interesting person on the team. Unfortunately, we're at the liberty of some of these people on email, and we never really were able to make it happen. She was the big key third option, right? Aiko Jones as well late in that 4th set. Brooke Nuneviller, 3 straight kills, Mick, to go from down 2018. This is the 4th set, right? You're up 2-1. You're up 21-20. Then Morgan Lewis and a defensive play against DeBeer makes it 23-21. But a service error at 23-21 has to be the play that Oregon's looking at on the replay, on the film sessions. That's what cost him. Nonetheless, Mimi still came up clutch, gave him a match point at 24-23, and then you give it back to her. You said you wanted Collier to keep swinging. She did swing at 24-23. It just went out of bounds. Chaussey finished it strong, had 2 of the last 3 kills, and then Collier's swing into the block ended that 4th set. And it was all Louisville in the 5th, 15-6, which was a bit of a theme in this tournament, and especially in the last 2 rounds, 5th set blowouts. Hey, Mick, do you remember how many 5th sets I called in the last episode for this?
Yes, I knew you were going to bring that up. That bothers me.
I will say one thing. I got 1 pick wrong in the regional semifinals. I got 1 pick wrong in the regional finals. And you're not surprised. they're letting me hear it of the one pick that I got wrong in each round. And of course, I thought that Ohio State would potentially take down the juggernauts. But no, the prediction that was the closest, of course, came down to Madison on Saturday. Sam Gore on the call with Shelby Coppridge. They did a great job. This match was ridiculous. Fans waiting since 7 in the morning. I got pictures from a couple of our loyal tweeters at 8 in the morning in Madison, 30 degrees and drizzling. And Wisconsin showed up. The best atmosphere in college volleyball, bar none. Come at me, Husker fans. Find me in Omaha. Convince me otherwise. This place was rocking. And Pittsburgh gets back to the Final Four, Mick. You were able to watch some of this while you were in Austin?
Absolutely.
At Gregory? Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I go to all the games with my wife. She travels with iPads, and we had iPads sitting all over the people sitting next to us as seats. We had them on the floor. We were watching all the matches. We had a group of people scanning everything. But let me say this again: Wisconsin could have won that match, but they're not as comfortable playing against non-Big Ten teams. I'll say that again, and that kind of just to me kind of came true again. And Wisconsin doesn't have that go-to when they have to go behind, and the other team serves them really tough. It's hard to get that ball back. Same way with Ohio State to Londot. They couldn't set behind when they needed to go to their go-to, and they didn't get kills. They got roll shots, they got tips, they got deep 5 corners, but I think the right team won, and I give Pittsburgh credit. They stayed true to the task there.
Well, I thought you were going to say the same thing you did with the Oregon match. Pittsburgh could have probably taken this in 3, and I think a lot of Badgers fans will admit it. The Panthers were up 19-13 in the first set. Wisconsin uses their momentum, uses that crazy fan-crazed atmosphere. They won the first by 2 points. Pittsburgh wins the second and the third in identical score lines of 25-21, but a lopsided fourth set evens it. Wisconsin 25-19. Then the fifth set starts, and Pitt is up 5-1. Let's talk about the Fisher challenge situation, because Coach Fisher for Pittsburgh challenged 5 calls throughout the match, I believe, and got all of them correct. A huge one in the fifth set. Challenge mania ensued, but then Yulia Orgel stepped up, brought him all the way back to the brink of a comeback. It was 11-8 to 11-10, back-to-back Orgel kills. Smrek ties it at 11-all. Pitt takes a 12-11 lead. Crawford gets a key block to even it at 12-all. Back at 13-all. Almost an ace that would have put things into pandemonium at match point, Wisconsin, but a sprawling save by the Panthers gets it to Valeria Vasquez Gomez. She tools the block. Bazzario puts it away. A deja vu for Bazzario. She seems to have that clutch gene with the match-winning kill in back-to-back thrillers against Florida and Wisconsin. Devin Robinson was so important in this match. I thought she was going to get Wisconsin back in it. She had a huge kill late in that fifth set. 21 for Robinson, 18 for Bazzario. Wow. This was everything we wanted it to be and more. And somehow Wisconsin ended up on the short end. It's almost like watching Brady, and you think he's going to do it every year, and you feel like Sheffield's going to have the magic to come back, and then it just wasn't there. And Dan Fisher has a chance to get to his first final now, but once again, he'll have to face a familiar foe, and that third time the rubber match with Pitt and Louisville. That's going to be fun.
You know, the ACC is interesting because Boston College is playing in the finals of the...
yeah, we're going to get to that at the end. They'll play Drake in the final in Des Moines.
So they've got 3 teams playing for championships here this weekend, and it's pretty interesting to see what's happening.
So for those that don't remember, in Pittsburgh on October 23rd, the Panthers beat Louisville in 5 sets, the only loss in conference play for the Cardinals. Earlier in the season, Louisville took down Pittsburgh, or excuse me, at the end of the season, pardon me. At the end of the season, Louisville took down Pittsburgh in 3 sets in Louisville on November 18th. Now, if we go back to that 5-set Pittsburgh win, 17 kills from Chaussee, DeBeer did not play. And that's something I like to talk to, non volleyball fans and kind of walk them through the situation of Pittsburgh not getting that 1 seed and being on the 1 line. And you wonder if De Beers not being a part of that match cost Pittsburgh in the committee's decision, because of course De Beers comes back, 3-set win. Courtney Bezzario, quietly, transfer from Iowa, has become the most important player for Pittsburgh in some of these big matches. She had 22 kills against Louisville in that 5-set win. Serena Gray, a new look, a new energy, another Big Ten footprint in this Final Four. There's going to be a lot of this talk, right? Because you've got the 4 in that matchup with Indiana and Nebraska. Of course, the Penn State transfer in Gray going to Pitt. Would have been a lot of fun if Pitt played Penn State in that match, but she was able to smash down Wisconsin. 15 kills from Gray in that 5-set win over Louisville. What are you seeing as the X factor here in terms of De Beers and Chaussee playing, but Pittsburgh not having to go to Louisville, of course, which is where the 3-set loss occurred?
Yeah, I think there are two things. You got a neutral court, and you've got Gray producing points now, not just blocking, but producing points offensively. And that helps Pittsburgh immensely. When you look at the numbers going in there, Pittsburgh was scoring 18 points per set, but they were holding their opponents to only 3.2 differential. And that was the lowest of all the teams in there. Louisville, on the other hand, is the only team not scoring 18 points per set. 17.7 average throughout the season. Could be De Beers not playing in the front row for a major part of the season. That's possible. But
plus lopsided wins.
Yeah, you have to look at those kinds of things. The thing about Pitt and Louisville is you get a very good comparison with these points because they played most of the same schedule. Because they play their conference teams. So Louisville produces 17.7 points per set. They have a 4-point differential, meaning that their differential between the conference and their early season competition is 4 points. Pitt, 18 points overall for the season scoring. That's very good. The 3.2 differential means that the other teams were closer over a period of time, and they weren't able to separate as much. So this is very interesting. I say watch Louisville's defense. It's better, maybe. Watch Pittsburgh scoring with Gray coming on now. That's a factor. So this is a very interesting match because they've played before. They don't have to do scouting reports. They know exactly what they're up against.
Good point.
It's what they're going to pinpoint. And as you pointed out, serving errors are costing teams right now. In Texas's situation, serving aces really helped. I mean, they threaded the needle, but they're not playing at Gregory this weekend. They're playing at a much bigger facility. It's got a different background. There's a whole lot of things, and they won't be playing the same music. So
30,000, a little different than 8,000, 7,000. Also,
who do you think those Nebraska fans are going to root for in this match with Texas and USD?
I think they're rooting for San Diego.
You got about 18,000 Blues there. Yeah.
On the other side, you have to feel like they're probably pulling for Danny Busboom Kelly, the Nebraska superstar, right? The Louisville head coach. Also, I think a lot of fans are probably just hoping for, more representation in the championship, getting a woman coach to get to that final. At least I feel like deep down, I'm probably hoping for that as well. Louisville has a very good story. Pittsburgh as well. I'll have to reserve my judgment on who I'm pulling for. Now, I get it. People are going to be at me in the comments. Maybe just a hold for 5 minutes. De Beers only had 1 swing in that 3-set win from Louisville. Remember, she had the 3 swings out of the back row, 1 kill. So yes, even in Louisville's 3-set win, it wasn't like Anna De Beers had a huge impact. She was on the court, though, for the entire match in the back row. Didn't play in the front row. 8 kills from Aiko Jones, 13 from Chaussee, and Bezzario was the only in double digits in that one. And Mick, we can wrap this up by talking about one common denominator. And how about this? 3 of these 4 teams have played each other because San Diego, their 1 loss this year came to Louisville, and Pittsburgh's 2 losses of their 3 have come to Louisville and San Diego, which adds this fun little familial aspect. And of course, Pitt played San Diego on opening day. Louisville played San Diego a long time ago in September. So things get thrown out of fashion, right? Everything changes up. But when you walk me through familiarity in the championship, when you play, Penn State in the final, or if you're playing whoever the few teams that you were able to knock off in those championship matches, what was your film prep leading up to the Final Four? Were you watching the recent matches? Were you watching more of their conference play? What were you doing as a coach?
No, only watched the recent matches because teams are only as good as they're playing when they get to the tournament. And so you watch that, you may go back and look for some things that transpired early or mid-season, really not too much early, but mid-season, as far as targets maybe in serving or that sort of thing. But basically you watch what people are doing right now, what subs they're making, how they run the matches right now, because you have 2 or 3 great matches. The second round, the third round, and the fourth round are great matches to watch, to see how the coaches coached, how the players played, what kinds of things you saw happen in those places. So that's where we would spend our time. And we've got the numbers for the whole season. So you have an overall kind of look at what the opponents were doing. You can pick out some things looking at the numbers, because there are things that slip by because everybody kind of copies what everybody else does. So you have to look really close and see what maybe was somebody missing here that we can use as an advantage. And so those are some of the things you do, but basically you prepare your team to play. If you spend all the time on the opponents, you're missing the boat, because you'll either win or lose how your team plays.
We cannot wait. It's coming down to it. A few days away. Is this one of the best record Final Fours ever? I know someone's going to be able to dig that up. There are only 7 losses total between these 4 teams. Pittsburgh is responsible for 1 of those losses. Louisville is responsible for 2 of those losses. San Diego is responsible for 1 of those losses. So when you take out the teams that are in the Final Four, the only other teams that have beaten these 4 are Iowa State, the only Texas loss, Towson, who's the only team that beat Pitt that's not in the Final Four, and Ohio State, who is the team that beat Louisville, who is not named Pittsburgh. So isn't that something, right? You have Towson, Iowa State, and Ohio State, the only 3 teams in the entire country that have wins against these Final Four teams that are not in the Final Four. High-level stuff. Great scheduling is certainly represented there. Preseason poll check. Texas was 2. Louisville was 4. Pittsburgh was 6. San Diego was 25. And those are the Final Four teams. So the coaches in the preseason, they were pretty good in the top 6. They had Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Minnesota as the other 3 teams that didn't make it in their top 6. And of course, the first Final Four for a West Coast Conference team since 2018 in BYU. Before that, Santa Clara in 2005. Any last tidbits from you, Mick, before we talk to these good fans out in Omaha on Thursday?
No, I just think you go and watch. If you're a fan of one of the teams, you certainly root for them, but watch all 4 of these teams. One of the things that the portal has done is been able to upload teams to where there's just not 3 good rotations or 4 good rotations. Almost all 6 rotations of all the teams are really productive right now, and that's what makes the game really good. So you're not seeing a lot of matchup changes because of the quality of the individuals on all 4 teams. This will be real interesting to see if any of the coaches decide, though, to match up to try to get an advantage. And I always look for those things because I enjoy the cat and mouse game with the coaches and that sort of thing. But the players are going to come and they're going to bring it. This is 4, I believe, 4 teams that will come and bring it, and it'll be really fun.
I'm going to say right now, I would be shocked if one of these 2 matches is a 3-setter. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be shocked at that too, but boy.
I was going to say, but on the other hand,
if
if
somebody
Louisville and
doesn't
Texas
play, it
sweep,
can be
yeah,
over
yeah,
quick. You've got to come to play. If you come and don't play, like you said, Wisconsin could have been out of that quick at Wisconsin.
yeah.
And Louisville could have been out of it quick at Louisville.
You're right.
Uh,
And Texas is the only one of the four who have won a national championship. They have two of them, of course. San Diego in their first Final Four, Pittsburgh and Louisville back-to-back in the national semifinals. Texas, they won the title back in 2012, back in 88. And for those volleyball fans that are just hoping that they don't have to wait till Thursday, Wednesday, 6 o'clock, I believe that's Central Time, 6 o'clock in Des Moines, Iowa, Boston College against Drake. You'll have to check me on that. It's on ESPN Plus, maybe 6 o'clock Eastern, maybe 6 o'clock Central. That's from the Knapp Center in Iowa. The NIVC Championship. Got to give them a little bit of credit there. And I wanted to give a shout out, Mick, to the Division II champs from a couple weeks ago, and it is West Texas A&M. They won their fourth title over Concordia St. Paul in extra points in the fourth set. So congratulations to West Texas A&M for winning the D2 NCAA championship. We're going to have our X's and O's on Thursday, our big pregame preview. Send us your questions. We may discuss them live on our Six Rotation show from the convention. Comment, tweet at us. And as always, we'll talk to you soon. He's Mick, I'm Daniel, and this is Six Rotations.